This is the yarn I'm going to be using. This is an 8-ply yarn and it is 100% acrylic. It calls for a 4mm crochet hook, but I'm going to size up to 5mm. We're going to first make a slip knot. So make a cross like this and then pull this yarn through the loop. Insert your hook. We're going to make a chain of 46. To make a chain, you're going to yarn over and pull it through the loop on the hook. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So continue chaining for a total of 46 chains. So now I've got a chain of 46. From the first one, I'm going to count to number 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is number 11. I'm going to place a stitch marker here. And from the end of the chain, I'm going to do the same. Count to number 11. Place the stitch marker in the 11th chain. And then I should have 24 stitches between the two stitch markers. Next, we're going to work row 1. And the first stitch of each row is going to be a bit different than a regular double crochet. So at the beginning of the row, I'm going to chain 1. The row 1 is going to be worked in the back loop of each chain. I'm going to find the second chain from the hook and turn my chain, find its back loop, insert my hook, and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2. And then we have 2 vertical loops here. I'm going to insert my hook back in the left vertical one, yarn over, pull it through 1 loop. And then I should have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over again and pull through 2. So that is going to be the first double crochet of the row. I'm going to mark this stitch. And then I'm going to work 2 more double crochets in the same stitch. But these 2 double crochets are going to be normal double crochets. So to make a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook. I'm going to insert in the very same stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over again, pull through 2, and then work 1 more in the stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So in the first stitch, we made 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And then from the next stitch, we're going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch. So in the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Next stitch, back loop, work a double crochet. So you're just going to continue repeating that. Work 1 double crochet in each stitch to the next stitch marker. And 1 stitch before the stitch marker, work a double crochet in this stitch. And then in this marked stitch, I'm going to work 3 double crochets. So take out the stitch marker. In the back loop of this stitch, work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So 3 stitches worked in 1 stitch. Then I'm going to place the stitch marker back in the middle stitch, like so. And then from the next stitch, in the back loop, work 1 double crochet in each stitch again. So if a stitch is marked, it means it's special, we need to work increases in it. but if it's not, just work 1 double crochet in that stitch. So I worked 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way to the next stitch marker, and then in the marked stitch I'm going to work 3 double crochets again, all in the back loop. And then again I'm going to mark the center stitch, and then from the next stitch work 1 double crochet in each stitch. In the very last stitch we're going to work 3 double crochets again. So for row 1 we have 4 increase spots. We increase at the beginning of the row and at the end of the row, and 2 spots which were marked. And at each increase spot we worked 3 double crochets. So that's row 1. To begin row 2, turn your work. From row 2, the increase pattern is going to change a little bit. Row 1 is the only different one. From row 2 to the very last increase row, it's going to be the same pattern. But basically, row 1 we have 4 increase spots. From row 2, we're going to have 6 increase spots each row. Let's do the first stitch first. Insert your hook in the very first stitch, under both loops, and then pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 to make a single crochet, and then we have 2 vertical loops here. Insert hook in the left one, and then yarn over, pull it through that one loop. Then you should have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 again. So that's the first stitch. I'm going to mark this stitch with a different colored marker. So in the very first stitch we're going to work 2 stitches. That's the very first double crochet. I need 1 more. So only the first one is different, the rest is just normal double crochets. So yarn over and insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2 and pull through 2. So that's the very first increase spot. The next increase spot is the middle stitch of the 3 increases, which is the second stitch of row 2. So in the second stitch here, we're going to increase by working 3 double crochets in it. From this row, I'm going to mark the middle stitch of every increase. So like this, the stitch marker is in the middle stitch. And then from the next stitch, we're going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch. Remember, if it's not marked, we just work 1 double crochet in it. So the next stitch marker here is marked. That means I need to work 3 double crochets in it. So after 3 stitches, we need to mark the middle stitch again. And then from the next stitch, work 1 double crochet in each stitch again, all the way to the next stitch marker. And in this marked stitch, you're going to do the same. Work 3 double crochets in it, and then mark the middle stitch of those 3 double crochets. And then continue working 1 double in each stitch. And I'll see you at the end of the row. Second last stitch, we're going to work 3 double crochets in it. Again, I need to mark the middle stitch. And then in the last stitch, work 2 double crochets. So take out the stitch marker and then work 2 doubles in it. Okay, so that was row 2. I said before, from row 2 we're going to have 6 increase spots, right? We have 1 at the beginning of the row, the very first stitch. and we increased here as well in the next stitch. We just didn't mark it, but that's gonna be an increase spot for the next row. So that's the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth, number 6 in the very last stitch. For the center 4 increase spots, we're gonna work 3 double crochets, but for the very first stitch and the very last stitch, we're gonna work 2 double crochets in it. Okay, so that is the repeat pattern. You're just going to repeat that pattern back and forth, keep increasing. I'll meet you back here when I've worked enough rows. So I kept increasing, and this is what I have so far. And if you fold it like this, making the 2 increase spots on one side meet, you'll have something like this. So this is the neckline, and these are the shoulders. So as you can see, because we kept increasing here, at one point the stitch number of the front panel is going to equal that of the back panel. So once the front panel reaches the same stitch number as the back panel, we're going to stop increasing at the beginning and at the end of the row. But for the rest 4 increase spots, we're going to continue increasing in the same way. So 3 double crochets and then mark the middle stitch. So this is 13 rows together. I'm gonna start row 14 here. So in the first stitch, I'm just gonna work that special double crochet. And then from the very next stitch, work 1 double crochet in each stitch, except these 4 increase spots. And when I get to the end of the row, 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way to the end. And then you're going to turn again, continue repeating that pattern. So from row 14, we would have 4 increase spots, not 6. So after I stopped increasing at the beginning and at the end of the row, I worked another 9 rows. So now I have 22 rows in total. I could continue increasing if I wanted to, but I think this is big enough for my arm when I pinch these 2 increase spots together. And the weight of the cardigan, which is from here to here, is wide enough for me as well. So this is about 21 inches. And the arm is about 8 inches. So that's how you decide how many rows you should do, but keep in mind when we separate the body and the sleeves, which is what we're going to do next, we're going to add a bit of a length here. So these 2 corners are not going to be touching each other like this. That means when we finish the cardigan, the body is going to be a bit bigger than this, so are the sleeves. So this is the end of row 22. I'm going to start row 23. I'll work to this spot first. You should have a stitch marker here. So you're going to work all the way to your stitch marker. Work 1 double crochet in it. And then you're going to chain 5. And then we're going to skip all these stitches for the sleeve and then go directly to the next increase spot. You should also have a stitch marker here, the middle one here, and then we're going to directly work a double crochet in this stitch. So make sure this chain is not twisted. Yarn over, insert my hook in this stitch, and work a double crochet. And then from the next stitch, you just work 1 double crochet in each stitch. So this is the back panel. We're going to work all the way across to the next increase spot. Again, your stitch should be marked. So you work all the way to this marked stitch, work a double crochet in it, and then chain 5, skip all these stitches for the sleeve, and then directly work a double crochet in this middle stitch at the next increase spot. And then from the next stitch, I just work 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way to the end. So when you finish this row, you just turn and begin your next row. From this row, we're just going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch. There's no more increased spots. And when I get to the chains, I'm going to insert my hook in the top 2 loops. and then a double crochet. This might be a bit tricky, but you just take your time. We only have 10 chains here. So 1 double crochet in each of the 5 chains, and then from the next stitch you just continue working your double crochet. From this row we're just going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch, 1 double crochet in each chain, and all the way to the end. Finish this row, and then you're going to begin your next row in the other direction, so back and forth like this to work the body part of the cardigan. So I did 10 rows here, and it looks like this. You can continue working back and forth if you want it to be longer, but I'm gonna stop here. And we're gonna directly work the ribbing. So I'm gonna chain 8. This is gonna be the width of the ribbing. So after that, I'm going to chain 1 more. And then in the second chain from the hook, I'm gonna insert my hook in the back loop and make a single crochet. And then from the next chain, I'm just gonna work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each chain. And then I'm gonna slip stitch back to this edge in the second stitch in both loops. And then I'm gonna slip stitch again. And then I'm gonna turn my work, skip the 2 slip stitches we just did in the third chain from the hook, which is the first single crochet. I'm gonna insert my hook in the back loop and work a single crochet. And then I'm just gonna work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. So all the way to the last stitch, chain 1 and turn again. From the very first stitch, I'm gonna work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch again. And then whenever I come back to this edge, I'm just gonna slip stitch twice. So work the first slip stitch in the next stitch, and then 1 more in the stitch after, and then turn your work, starting from the first single crochet, work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. So you're going to work like that all the way to the last stitch, chain 1 and turn, 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch, and then slip stitch in the next stitch, in the next stitch again, slip stitch, turn your work, and 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. So just continue working like this along this bottom edge. When I come back to this edge after 8 single crochets, I have my last stitch here, slip stitch in the stitch, and fasten off. We're gonna start from the center of the bottom of the sleeve. So remember we chained 5 here. That is the center stitch. I'm gonna put a stitch marker here so you can see. So make a slip knot and attach your yarn in the center stitch. And I'm gonna make my first stitch. Work 1 double crochet in the next stitch, one in the next stitch. I'm carrying the tail as well. So 1, 2, 3, and then we get to this vertical double crochet. I'm gonna work 2 double crochets along this edge. And then 1 in the next stitch. And from there, 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So work all the way around and continue working until you reach this horizontal double crochet. I have 1 more here. And then I'm at the edge. Work 2 double crochets. And then we should have 2 stitches left. Work 1 double in each stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch in this first stitch. Okay, now for the sleeve, we're not going to continue working in the round in the same direction because we want the pattern to look the same as the rest of the cardigan. So I'm going to turn my work, and the first stitch of the round is always going to be this center stitch. So this is the center stitch. I should work my first stitch in this stitch. So I'm just going to insert my hook here. It's a little awkward. We're not moving on to the next stitch. We're going back a little bit in the same stitch. And then I'm going to make my first stitch. And then from the next stitch, I'm just going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch. This is row 2. I'm going to go ahead and finish the first 5 rows like this. When you finish each row, you're just going to slip stitch in the first stitch and then turn, work the first stitch of the next round on top of this first stitch. Okay, so after 5 rounds, slip stitch in the first stitch. From the next round, we're going to work decrease. So turn your work. I'm still going to work my first stitch on top of this stitch. And then over the next 2 stitches, I'm going to work a double crochet 2 together. So yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, leaving 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over, directly go in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and with 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then for the rest of the stitches, we're just going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch. So the only thing we added is this double crochet 2 together in the second and the third stitch. When you finish this row, slip stitch in the first stitch, and then we're just going to repeat this row, turn and work your first stitch, and then a double crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches. And then 1 double crochet in each stitch. I'm going to keep repeating this row and work 20 decrease rows in total. So this is number 2, I'm going to work all the way to number 20. So after 20 rows of decrease, I now have 44 stitches around. I'm going to turn my work. We're going to do one last decrease round, but this time we're going to reduce the stitch number not by 1, but by half. So I'm going to work my first stitch here. And then I'm going to do a double crochet 2 together. And then we're just going to continue doing this double crochet 2 together. So the next 2 stitches, double crochet 2 together. Next, double crochet 2 together again. So now I have 1 stitch left. I'm just going to work 1 double crochet in it. And then I'm going to slip stitch to join. And from here, we can just continue with the cuff. So just like how we did the bottom ribbing, I'm going to chain 8 and then chain 1 to turn. And then from the second chain from the hook, 1 single crochet in the back loop of each chain. And then when I get to this edge, slip stitch in the next stitch, and then in the next stitch again, and then turn your work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch, chain 1, turn again, 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. So exactly like the bottom ribbing, I'm gonna work back and forth like this along this edge. So I've slip stitched in the last stitch and then worked my way back here, and then we're going to join these 2 edges together. So we don't really have a right or wrong side yet, but I want this side to be the right side. So I'm going to turn this sleeve inside out and join from my wrong side. So I'm going to use slip stitch to join the stitches. On this side, I'm going to insert in both loops from the very first stitch. And then on the other side, I'm going to insert in the back loop only, also beginning from the first stitch. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull it through all the loops on the hook to make a slip stitch. And then I'm just going to continue doing that in the next stitch, both loops. Next stitch, on the other side, back loop only, and slip stitch. I'm going to do this 8 times because I have 8 stitches. This is number 7. Very last one. And slip stitch. Chain 1 and cut this yarn. And then I'm just going to use a yarn needle to weave this end in. So that's for the sleeve. And then you're just going to repeat the same process to make the other sleeve. Attach my yarn to the very first stitch at the bottom, in the back loop only. And then I'm going to insert in the same stitch, make a single crochet, and then just 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch here. So 8 single crochets. And then for this double crochet edge, I'm going to work 2 single crochets for each double crochet row. So I'm going to work 1 single crochet here. So 2 single crochets for the first double crochet row, and then 2 more for the next one. And then I'm just going to continue working like this, 2 single crochets for each double crochet row. So work like that all the way to the top. That's 1 double crochet row, 2 single crochets, 2 single crochets, 2 single crochets. And then in these stitches, 1 single crochet in each stitch. For these ones, you can just go in both loops. And then you work all the way across to the other side. And then when you work in these single crochets, insert your hook in the back loop only. I'll see you at the end of the row. So I just single crocheted all the way to this end, and then I'm gonna chain 8 to make my ribbing. chain 1, and beginning from the second stitch from the hook, work 1 single crochet in each stitch in the back loop. And then I'm just gonna turn and work my ribbings back and forth along this edge, just like we did here. So I'm gonna slip stitch here, and then slip stitch again, and then turn my work 1 single crochet in the back loop of each stitch. If you don't want any buttons, you can just continue working to the end. But if you do, before you've gone too far, you need to mark out where you want your buttonholes to be. So I've got 4 stitch markers here with roughly 13 stitches in between every 2 of them. Make sure you stay on this straight line here, don't go too high. And it's quite simple to create a buttonhole. First, I'm going to slip stitch in this marked stitch. So it tells me around here I'm going to create a buttonhole. I'm going to work 3 stitches first. So to create a buttonhole, we're just going to replace our single crochets with chains. So I'm going to chain 2 to replace the next 2 single crochets. So skip 2 single crochets. In the next one, work a single crochet. And then, let's see, it's actually a bit big. So I'm just gonna chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and then in the next stitch, work a single crochet. And then just continue working. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so I think that worked. So from the next row, I'm just gonna work normally until I get to the next stitch marker. So just somewhere around this spot, when I'm working away from this edge, I'm gonna work 3 single crochets first, and then chain 1, skip 1. From the next stitch, work 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then just continue as usual. Slip stitch in the last stitch, and then fasten off. We only have to weave in the ends and then just sew the buttons on. I don't do this much, so I won't show you here, but I will link a tutorial on how to sew the buttons. And that's all for making this crochet cardigan.